Yo, what's going on guys, it's Scott here, and this is my Lakers and NBA predictions for this season. Starting off with just Lakers predictions, I have Lonzo Ball making either the first or second team all defense. I think his added muscle makes a huge difference to his defensive game, as previously he had great instincts and the height to defend any guard in the league, but now he has the muscle to stop anyone. I think he'll be locking down a lot of the top point guards this season and maybe even lead the league in steals. And if he does that, then he should be able to get on either the first or second all defensive team. Next, I don't think LeBron James will win MVP. I'll get into who I have winning it later, but I don't think the Lakers play a style that'll give him a chance to boost his stats. MVPs usually need to get really good stats and help their team get a high seed, and I don't see the Lakers getting a 1 or 2 seed this season. Brandon Ingram will be in the All-Star voting conversation, but he'll miss out. There's a lot of great wings in the West. Last season, Paul George didn't even make the team initially until DeMarcus Cousins got injured. I think Ingram will be in the same situation that Devin Booker and Lou Williams had, where he'll miss out even if there's injuries, but he'll be close. With that, Brandon Ingram will win Most Improved. The early signs show that he's ready for at least a 20 point per game season, which should give him a chance to win the award. Kyle Kuzma won't win 6th Man of the Year, but he'll be a nominee. Since Ingram and LeBron will start the 3 and the 4, Kuzma will come off the bench and he'll probably still play around 30 minutes per game, which should get him really good scoring numbers, but I just don't have him winning it. Josh Hart will be the definitive starting shooting guard by playoff time. Then finally, the Lakers will beat anyone in the West except the Warriors in a 7-game series. The second part of this video is where I'm going to give my NBA season and award predictions. Starting at 8, I have the Nuggets. I really like their team. I thought they were unfortunate last season with Millsap's injury, and that caused them to just barely miss the playoffs. I think this is the year where they finally get over the line, and I like the addition of Isaiah Thomas this offseason. I think he'll help Jamal Murray a lot. Number 7, I have the Spurs. Before DeJounte Murray's ACL tear, I actually had the Spurs as the 5th seed in the West. I really like the combination of Aldridge and DeRozan in Pop's system. I just think they're going to be poor defensively without Murray. They also lost Danny Green in the Kawhi trade, so they're really going to be missing good defenders on the perimeter. Number 6, I have the Jazz. They will without a doubt be one of the best defensive teams this season, and if Rudy Gobert can avoid injury, they might be the best defensive team in the league. I feel like they lack the talent that the top 5 teams on this list have, but they have very good cohesion, and that could push them into that top 5. Number 5 are the Pelicans. I don't know why a lot of people have them so low just because they lost Rondo. They might not have Rondo, but they still have a top 5 player in Anthony Davis, who is a first-team all-defensive player next to Drew Holiday, and then they added Julius Randle. They have a lot of talent, and I think that'll give them the 5th seed. Number 4, we have the Lakers. I think this is the most realistic placing for them considering they did add LeBron, but they'll probably go through some rough patches this season, which really comes down to their inexperience. I don't think they'll have that hard of a time meshing together as a lot of other people think, because they're trying to blend a lot of unselfish playmakers together rather than a lot of scorers. By playoff time, I think they have a chance to beat anyone except the Warriors, so it would be great if they could get to that 2 or 3 seed to avoid them in the first 2 rounds, but it will be hard to control that. At 3, I have the Thunder. I really like the addition of Schroeder. I think he gives them a great backup to Westbrook and a real secondary ball handler that they were missing. I also think when Robertson comes back, they'll be a top 3 defense in the NBA. My second seed in the West is the Rockets. I think I'm in the minority of people that actually think this team will be better than last season. They did lose Ariza and Mbah Moute, but they did not have a scorer like Melo on their bench except for Gordon that they could play through. They relied heavily on CP3 and Harden to get buckets for them, and to me it looks like Melo is a lot more comfortable with this team than he was with the Thunder. I also think Marquise Chris and James Ennis were good additions as well. At 1, of course, I have the Warriors. Even though they might coast this season, I think they should be able to get the 1st seed this time around. I think the Rockets will take it easy during the regular season and save their players for the playoffs to avoid another injury to Chris Paul. The Warriors' depth hasn't really improved, but once they get Cousins back in the second half of the season, I think they'll really start taking over the league. Then for the teams I have missing the playoffs, I have the Blazers and the Timberwolves. Neither team really made any changes to their roster even when they needed to. The Blazers were the 3 seed last year, but they were within 3 games of missing the playoffs, so I don't really think that seeding matters. When you look at it, they're pretty much the only team within those 3 and 9 seeds that didn't have a season-defining injury. And if every other team stays healthy, I think they'll miss out. The Timberwolves have a lot of locker room issues. We don't know what will happen with Jimmy Butler, and they didn't make any necessary moves to improve the team either. Now with the Eastern Conference, the 8th seed is the Cavs. I think they have a clear direction now with Colin Sexton as their cornerstone piece, and Kevin Love will get a lot more opportunities. They still have a decent roster even though it doesn't include LeBron. They have a lot of experience on their team, and that should help them stay in the playoffs. At number 7 in the East, I have the Wizards. Wizards. They added some very good depth this offseason and upgrade at center with Dwight Howard. They could be higher than this, but I see a lot more potential in my top 6 at the moment. At number 6, I have the Pistons. If you guys didn't know, I'm from Michigan, so I still support the Pistons probably as much as the Lakers. I think Dwayne Casey will get the most out of Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, and they'll be a formidable team in the East with the potential to get to the second round of the playoffs. For the 5 seed, I have the Pacers. They certainly improved with the addition of Tyreke Evans, and I see a lot of potential with this team. I think Victor Oladipo is on the verge of becoming one of the best guards in the league, and he's already a top 2-way player. They have great depth and are built for the playoffs, so I could definitely see them getting past the first round this year. This might be a surprise, but at 4, I have the Sixers. I think they took a step back this year with their roster. Obviously, Markelle Fultz is a big wild card for them, as he could be the scoring threat off the dribble that they were missing last season. This team took off once they added more shooters, and they lost some of them this offseason. On paper, they're still probably a top 3 team, but I have a bigger surprise at 3. My number 3 team in the East is the Bucks. I think this is the year Giannis takes over the East. The early signs show that Mike Budenholzer has given Giannis the room to drive and kick out to shooters, and I don't think there's a player in this league that can stop him with a full head of steam. He also seems more confident in his jump shot, and that's scary to think about for the rest of the league. Their roster might not be as good as the Sixers and the other top 2 teams, but I just think Giannis is that good, and with this system, he'll push the Bucks to the top. As the 2 seed, I have the Raptors. This team could be a threat in the playoffs now that they have Kawhi Leonard. They'll definitely be the biggest threat to the Celtics, who are obviously my number 1 seed. They have a lot of versatility defensively, and could be a top 3 defense this season with Kawhi Leonard. Number 1, of course, is the Celtics. They have the most talented roster in the East, and next to Pop, probably the best coach in the league. Gordon Hayward will need some time readjusting to the league after being out for a full year, but he certainly gives them another offensive weapon. They have great versatility, and I definitely see them as a threat to the Warriors. For the teams that are missing out in the East, I considered putting the Bulls as the 8th seed, but the injury to Lauri Markkanen should have a big impact on them early on. I have the Heat missing out because I don't expect to see a lot of growth from them, and I really don't see a lot of standout players that will push them to the playoffs. I do see a lot of potential in the Nets, but they finally have their pick, so they'll probably just want to tank again. And then lastly, the Hornets will always be circling around playoff contention as well. For the playoffs, it's pretty simple. I have the Warriors versus Rockets in the West, and then the East I have the Celtics versus Raptors. The Warriors and Celtics will make the finals, and the Warriors will get their 3rd title in a row. Now for the end of season awards, I think Coach of the Year will go to Mike Budenholzer. The Bucks were the 7th seed last season, and if he can get his team a top 3 seed, I think he'd hands down win Coach of the Year. So far, it looks like he's getting the most out of Giannis. And with that, I think the Bucks have the potential to make a big jump this season. For most improved, I have Brandon Ingram. Like I said, he has a real chance to be at least a 20-point per game scorer, and he's shown a lot of improvement so far. He previously made a jump from his rookie season to his 2nd season, and I think that'll happen again and he'll win most improved. My defensive player of the year is Anthony Davis. I thought he was robbed last season. He led the league in blocks and was a force for the Pelicans. I think with his size and athleticism, he could lead the league in blocks and be right up there in steals. He could carry his team on the defensive end to the point where he deserves defensive player of the year. I have to say Kawhi Leonard will be right up there as well. We can't forget about him. For 6th man of the year, I have Eric Gordon. For these last 2 seasons, to me, he's had the biggest impact out of anyone off the bench for a contending team. I thought he deserved it last season if it wasn't for Lou Williams scoring 23 points per game. Like I said before, Kyle Kuzma should be a nominee, but I don't think he'll provide the same impact that Gordon does for the Rockets. My rookie of the year is Colin Sexton. If he can push his team to the AC in the playoffs, I think he'll win rookie of the year and average around 16 points per game. DeAndre Ayton or Luka Doncic could also win this, but I doubt either of their teams will make the playoffs, even though they might have really good numbers at the end of it. And finally, my most valuable player is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like I said, I think Mike Budenholzer will get the most out of him, and he'll give him the freedom this season to just go off and push his team to the top of the East. I think he'll fill the entire stat sheet and average close to a triple-double, and maybe even average 30 points per game. When you put that with him carrying the Bucks to the top 3 in the East, I think that would warrant him winning MVP. I don't have Anthony Davis or LeBron winning this because I don't think they'll average the numbers that Giannis will, and I don't think either of their teams will be one of the top seeds. Also, I think Kawhi might be in the conversation as well if he's playing lockdown defense while still averaging high 20s in points. And with that, that's all I have for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Leave your predictions down below for both the Lakers and the entire NBA. I want to see what you guys think. If you want to see more content like this, then make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you drop a like, and thanks for watching.